Janet Atkinson has written a piece for me to go through, just talking about Janet and her life. And then we have some nieces and family friends and relatives that speak. And at the appropriate time, you can't hear it? All right. Stand by, I think we're going to turn up some more speakers. Can you hear me over in the back corner or no? Maybe that's a good thing. Hey, Poppy.
You want me to bring it over?
Let's speak.
But if you point it into your mouth like this.
All right, folks. If I could have your attention, please. We're going to try to talk a little bit about Janet's life, family, friends. I'm going to be your sort of MC here today. And my name is Ian Kerr, and 42 years ago, when I was hitchhiking around North America, I met John Atkinson when he was working at the Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto. And John, that weekend, invited me to come up here to visit their beautiful family home on Lake Couchiching, where I had the privilege of meeting Janet, Doug, and John's three great brothers who are in here, obviously Jeff, Ross, and Stuart. And these words have been put together by John, and I'm hoping that I can actually make it through in one piece, so please bear with me. Over the years, I've been very lucky to come to know the extended family, from Jeff's wife, Barb, Stuart's wife, Colette, and all of Janet and Doug's grandkids. Josh, his wife, Shyla, Joe, Alex, Grace, Megan, Cassidy, Tyler, and Kyle. And now I finally met Janet and Doug's charming great-grandkids, Sophia, Olivia, Amelia, and Jameson. I mean, wow, what a family. I actually live in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and with COVID and all, I must admit that I haven't visited Aurelia in a while. I would have wished to have been here now under better circumstances, but nevertheless, please know how honored I am to be up here and have this opportunity to talk about our Janet. Mom, nanny, aunt, sister-in-law, Peggy, and so much to so many more. After I lost my... Big breath. All right, thank you. Breathe deep, breathe deep. After I lost my mom many years ago, I always thought of Janet as actually my adopted mom. Every time I talked with her, she was always so enthusiastic about getting all the news about my life. How my wife and daughter Amy were doing, and my wife Amy and daughter Dylan were doing. And she really did care about my family. Truth is, brothers, I've always thought of myself as Janet's fifth son. We'll be talking to the estate planner later. But I've recently learned that there were quite a few other guys who have been competing with me for that coveted title. I'm hoping that by getting up here today and trying to do my best to honor her, then maybe I can continue to share that title. And we all come from such different backgrounds today, but we all share one truth. We all loved Janet Atkinson. And I feel very comfortable in saying that she very much loved all of us. Now, Janet was born in Boston, and at that time, her father was temporarily working in the United States, opening up a new branch for Sun Life Insurance. And a few years after Janet was born, the family moved back to their beloved Nova Scotia. And at a young age, Janet attended a private girls' school called Edge Hill School. And it was there that she met many lifelong friends. One in particular, named Nancy Howard, would later introduce her to a dashing naval officer named Douglas. And the rest, as they say, is history. Janet and Doug married in Toronto in 1953, and after the birth of their first son, Jeff, they settled in the beautiful town of Oakville. And in 1968, the Atkinson family moved up to Aurelia into the house on Holcroft Road, which over time became their sanctuary and has remained so to this day. Over the years, I'm quite sure there are many people in this room who have sat, like me, at the Atkinson dining room table and enjoyed one of Janet's family meals. Always such good food and always such fun. Birthday parties, Thanksgivings, Christmas dinner, also memorable. What is interesting is that that dining table was Janet's family table when she was a young child. And I remember her telling me once that she vividly recalls sitting at that same table with her older sisters and parents so many years ago. Such great history. Despite living in Ontario, Janet actually never lost contact with her maritime roots. While with family still living in Nova Scotia, and her parents had so many generations of ancestors buried in Pictou, Nova Scotia, for Janet, a return to Nova Scotia was an annual ritual that she treasured. A visit to the cemetery to share a quiet moment of reflections with her parents was very high on her priority list. But the number one item on her bucket list was always a swim in the ocean. Janet loved the salt water, much more than the fresh water of Lake Couchiching. For her, there was nothing quite like a swim in the ocean. Many of her sons have spoken to me of times when the wind was blowing strong and the air quite cold, and no matter what the weather, Janet was going in for a swim. There was to be no discussion, and there her boys stood on the beach in their bathing suits, freezing cold, knees knocking, and the story goes once that a man came walking down the beach and stopped to say, "Surely you guys are not going for a swim in this nasty weather?" And they replied by saying, "You see that lady out there, joyously splashing in the water? That's our 87-year-old mom, laughing and loving every minute." So soon enough, in they went, and soon enough they were there splashing around with their mom, laughing and loving every moment of the experience. And to me, this is a key thing. Life was like that when you were around Janet. She had a way of making everything fun for everyone around her. Now, everything in Janet's world slowed down a few notches when she was diagnosed with kidney disease. She didn't want to waste time by going to the hospital for dialysis, so she signed up for dialysis at home program, and that worked well for her. But sadly, after she lost Doug in 2006, she told John that all she wanted to do was go back to Nova Scotia and smell the salt air. "What about your dialysis?" says John. She replied, "I'll do the dialysis in the car." And John's like, are you sure you can do that? And she's like, "Of course I can do that. Let's go." That's Janet. And go they did. And while driving down the highway, I'm sure you can all see it, there's Janet sitting in the bag. She had her dialysis bags up on the coat hook by the back door and did her medical routine. And it all worked out perfectly. And 2 days later, they were once again in their beloved Nova Scotia, standing on a windswept sand beach, watching the waves roll in. The ocean was the elixir that would help her heal her broken heart after losing her much-loved husband. So back in March 2007, John or I were in Freeport, Bahamas on my research vessel Odyssey, which had actually broken down. John says, "Sorry mate, I gotta go." And 2 days after, we at Toronto General Hospital to donate a kidney to my mother. As we all know, the operation, appropriately performed on Mother's Day, was a tremendous success. And the chief surgeon, Dr. Cole, told Janet that she was getting quite a gift for Mother's Day. That operation gave Janet another 15 years of good living. And best of all, she said those years gave her more time to spend with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So many extra beautiful moments for Janet and everything else. But there's an interesting story here. Long before the kidney transplant, when Janet started her home dialysis, she had a tube inserted into her chest cavity. And this tube insertion was like an open wound that would never heal. And because of the threat of infection, Janet was told never to swim in ocean water again. That was bad news for her. The idea of not swimming in the lake or ocean ever again was devastating. But in the end, in Janet's accommodating and graceful way, she accepted it and moved on. After John's kidney was successfully put into Janet and all was working well, Dr. Cole said they could remove the tube, and that meant the open wound would heal. Can you all guess what Janet's first question was? How long before I can go for a swim? So Dr. Cole said, give it 60 days to completely heal and you should be okay. And sure enough, 60 days later, the entire Atkinson clan are gathered on the dock at the house, everyone in their bathing suits, and when they all were ready, Janet was the first one to go down the ladder and once again swim in the lake. Everyone followed behind soon enough, and they were all splashing around, having fun together. After thinking she would never swim in open water again, that day was very special for Janet and of course for everyone else. And Janet gave so much of herself to others. But perhaps her greatest gift of all was how she seemed to effortlessly give her undivided attention to whoever she was with. Be it family, friends, or strangers. She cared so much about people. And whoever Janet was with, they walked away feeling special, because in her heart, everyone was special. Now, a lot of you will know, after her husband and her family, Janet's next true love was this farm, and her many horses over the years. Starting in 1968, she came out to this farm on almost a daily basis to ride these beautiful trails to the top of the mountain. Galloping across the fields and jumping fences was all part of the fun and excitement for her. With her many friends riding alongside and her dog never far away, Janet was so at home on this land. After she had a kidney transplant, she decided, maybe it's not the best idea to ride anymore, but nevertheless, a trip out to the farm and a visit with Leslie and all of her friends, both two-legged and four, was almost one of her most treasured days. So what is the takeaway from everything I've said here today? We are here now. Thank you. To celebrate the wonderful life of our much loved, what's her name? Okay, Janet Cameron Atkinson. Daughter, sister, wife, friend, mother, nanny, sister-in-law, adopted mom, and to many friends and so many more. In the past month or so, she said she'd lived a very full and happy life, blessed with a wonderful husband, loving family, and so many. Yeah, of all of you, kind-hearted friends, she felt so lucky. So will we miss her? Of course we will, each and every day. Life will not be the same without her. But we mustn't be sad. She wouldn't want that. She wants us to continue to celebrate life and make the most of every day. She would tell us that life is a gift and we must cherish that gift. So for the sake of Janet and for all of our loved ones who've gone before us, let's celebrate each and every day. That is Janet's wish for all of us. Thank you. John, would you like to say a few words?
First of all, Ian, thank you so much, buddy, for doing that for us. And secondly, I don't know, is Luke and Philip here somewhere? Anyways, Luke and Philip, and of course Leslie too, thank you so much for hosting this party here for us today. Mom loved this farm so much. We all know she worked here for 40 years, and it's the perfect location for this celebration, so thanks again. Secondly, after Mom broke her hip 6 months ago, we were determined to keep her at home, which is what she wanted. And we were lucky enough to find help in what we call our G team. That included G, Rafa, Gracie, and Magicine. These PSW ladies were with us every day, 7 days a week. They loved Mom like she was their own nanny, and we are so grateful to them. Actually, these ladies give so much of themselves, and they get so little credit. So, G and Rafa, are you guys here? Someone? There they are. A round of applause to those two. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay? We love you guys. You know that's true. Anyways, so finally, all I want to say is thank you to everyone here for coming out today and joining us in this celebration of life. Mom loved you all, and so do we. So thank you.
Okay, so just a quick reminder, obviously there's food over here, there's an open bar, and there is a, I don't know, we call it a sketch pad over here where we want people to sign and give their stories and tell names, and there is a guest book. So please feel free to write a comment, not about the speech, but anything else. Okay, now we're actually nieces. Sorry, Kathy, Liz, Karen, you guys want to come up and say a few words? It's so much easier asking somebody else to speak.
So nice to hand that back to you. Yeah, you can do that.
Right. Okay. Hi, everybody. I just have 2 words I want to talk about. But first, a thought on family. As we've already heard, we're lucky to have enjoyed the love of close family all our lives. First, Kevin and Doug were close brothers, then Janet and Peggy, wonderfully close sisters-in-law, and then us kids, Jeff, John, Ross, Stuart, Liz, Karen, and I, almost like brothers and sisters. And what's really nice is to see it in the next generations already, in the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren. How you love your nanny, and how our littles love their children. Okay, back to those 2 words. The first one is greedy. Not necessarily the nicest word, and not one I would want people to say about me, but I will admit to being greedy about Aunt Janet. She had such a long life, and we had so much time with her, but I want more. But I'm glad she's at peace. That's important. Okay. The other word is exuberance. When I think of Aunt Janet, it's not just enthusiasm, it's exuberance. She embraced everything life had to offer. Experiences, flowers, animals, especially horses, most importantly, people. She was interested in everyone's story. She didn't really ever want to talk about herself, but she wanted to hear all about what you were doing, what you had discovered, everything. She lived life to the fullest, and that gets tossed around very casually, that saying, but she really did. She left a huge impression on all of us, and we will have that love and exuberance to warm our hearts and lift our spirits forever. We really are lucky. Thanks. Okay. I'm the middle, unimportant sister, but that's okay. I know I am well loved in this group. We are Aunt Janet's girls. She was always very clear about that, especially in later years. And so, of course, this makes the boys Mom's boys. We flow together so seamlessly that we are, in fact, one big family. For all 7 of us, our parents instilled a strong sense of family, but also friendship. Ross and I, being the closest in age, spent many hours together, usually in Aurelia. As soon as I was old enough, I would get the bus at Yorkdale in Toronto, and Aunt Janet or Uncle Doug were always there to pick me up. Aunt Janet embraced our relationship. She took the time to share her passions with me. During my mid-teen years, when Jeff and I dated, Aunt Janet was so sweet, wanting to talk like mother and daughter, but always aware and not wanting to overstep. Here's the hard part. We are blessed with strong female mentors in Mom and Aunt Janet. And while we are walking through the season of sadness, we will carry with us our loving memories of an unforgettable laugh and sense of humor, a loving embrace, and a cheek-to-cheek kiss.
Well, I am Karen, the youngest. Of course means I have to go last. So, driving down Holcroft Road as a young child meant something magical was about to happen. Whether it was the biggest Christmas tree you've ever seen, or the best Easter egg hunt in the world that Uncle Doug always I'm sure spent months on. Or one of the best dinners, as Ian spoke about, at a dining room table that went on forever. We'd be driving up the driveway, and Aunt Janet and Uncle Doug would come out. And sometimes those nasty boys would be right behind them. And then, Mom and Aunt Janet would be in the kitchen, cooking a beautiful turkey dinner. Sometimes the turkey would be sliding all over the kitchen floor, but we didn't hear that for years to come. Doug and Dad were in the living room having a scotch, right? Where else would they have been? And usually the kids were basically left to their own devices. I knew someday I'd be allowed in that boathouse. It took a long time. As a teenager, driving down Hallcroft Road typically meant I had hurt myself at a camp I had been working at. And if Aunt Janet, or actually I think it was Ross, would come pick me up. I'd either be on crutches or have my arm in a sling, but Aunt Janet was always happy to scoop me up and look after me. As an adult, driving down Hallcroft Road has meant love. The love of an aunt, a woman who was always more interested in what I was doing than telling me what she had been doing. A woman who to this day, 15 years later, was one of the happiest that I had married Mike Merkley. I will miss her laughter, the joy on her face as we came into her home, and those nasty boys have become the three brothers that these girls love dearly. 4. Driving down Hallcroft Road will never be the same, but I will always feel the warmth of Aunt Janet in my heart as I walk into her home. Ta-ta for now.
All right, now we're going to have some poems read by the grandchildren. We've got, Cassidy and Megan.
We wanted her to live forever, at least we hoped it so, and though we wanted her to stay, we knew we had to let her go.
Though we cried and cried, we knew it had to be, and so we opened her bedroom window and set her spirit free.
Thank you. John, was that poem written by you? And also now we're going to have a poem read by Alexandria.
Before I start the poem, I do just want to say my name was very special to all of us. Everything that was said about Hallcroft Road is so true. It's such a beautiful place, and Nanny made it that place. But the family that she surrounded herself with, we're going to carry that on. It might not always be at Hallcroft, but that's what family's about. Yeah, so I'm just going to start. This is also a John's poem. Dearest Mom, everybody's waiting for you. All your old friends, and some brand new. Our hearts are broken. Sadness and pain. Sorry. Equaled by their glorious gain. Dad waiting with arms open wide. Your horse waiting for you to ride. A bountiful table filled with food, happy music to brighten the mood. May your journey take you far beyond the moon, and with good grace, we'll meet again soon. Love, John.
Would anybody else like to come up and say a few words? Okay. Please, say it. Absolutely, I'm sorry. Well, that's right. Bad MC. Grace got added. Grace volunteered here. I couldn't do any more.
So these are just emails from loved ones that could not make it today. The first one is from Leslie Frederick. Have a wonderful service for dear, sweet, hilarious, and beloved Janet, nanny, mom, friend. Rest in peace, dear girl. So beautiful inside and out. Wish I could be there, but not meant to be at this time. Much love to you and your family. This one's from Caroline and Portia. I am really regretful that Portia and I cannot be there to remember Nanny in person, but we will be honoring her memory, wisdom, and love here. I also need to tell you how moved we were that both Portia and that Portia was included in the obituary as one of the grandchildren. Janet told me in every phone call how special she thought Portia was. We are sending you all of our love. This one is from Cynthia. I realized while writing this that I don't remember a time when Janet wasn't in my life. As a young girl, I would travel to Toronto each Easter holiday with my mother Jean to visit both her and Aunt Zelda and her baby sister Janet. Perhaps it was because Janet was the youngest of the Cameron girls that she possessed such empathy. Her early years living away from school might have made her place more valued in a strong relationship with her family. Although we moved 4,000 miles away, the two sisters remained close. I remember fondly how wonderful it was for all of us to have Janet and Doug attend our wedding in LA, and how Janet reached out so often after my mother passed away to make sure I was all right. Her simple act of kindness made me understand the importance of keeping family close and motivated me to make the effort to maintain and treasure those relationships. When I retired a few years ago, Janet and I talked more often, and those conversations were always filled with lots of laughter and sometimes tears. She was a constant in my life. At the end of our talks, she would always say, "We will see each other in Pictou soon." And we promised that we would. One day I will be in their favorite place again. And I know that when I visit Pictou again, I will have two special angels on my shoulder, my dear mother and my dear Aunt Janet. They both will always mean the world to me. God bless all of you, all of your family, and know that you are in our hearts, especially now. Love, Cynthia, Gil, and all of our family. Dear Jeff, John, Ross, and Stu, giving was easy for Aunt Janet. She made each and every one of us feel special. As we continue our own life journey, we will stop and consider the importance of family values as Aunt Janet demonstrated to all of us through her life. Aunt Janet, we will miss you, but in many ways, you will be with us in our minds and in our hearts. Love always, Doug and Joey McDade. Sorry. Aunt Janet was not just a special aunt, but also served as a grandmother with the most kind and loving heart. She will forever be remembered for her positive attitude, her zest for life, as well as her feisty spirit. She was a true breath of fresh air to all of those around her. Lucky are those who cross paths. Family, that's family. That's what it is all about, eh? She would often say. Now that we have recently become new grandparents, truer words were never spoken. Although we are very sad, we will be waiting with open arms for your ashes to return to us here, to your beloved Nova Scotia. May you forever rest in peace in her maritime. In our maritime salty air. We will take comfort knowing you will be watching over us in a good way, of course. So ta-ta for now until we meet again. And when we take our long walks on the beach, smell the ocean air, see lupins, or have some salty saltwater taffy, we will hold on to you in our hearts and smile. Lovingly, Dawn, Lynn, Ben, and Jordan McDade. Oh, that's yours.
Amazing. Okay, at this point in time, would anybody else like to come up and say a few words? Yeah. Oh, all right, thank you.
I'm not sure I can do a speech, but you know, Annie Janet, as I knew her, created an amazing community of people around her, which, you know, we can see here, everybody's awesome. Let's raise a glass of whatever you got to Janet. And she'd want all of us to live our lives and do credit to ourselves and keep having a good time. And yeah, so to her and to all of you, thank you.
Cheers to Janet.
Cheers. Cheers to Janet.
Hi guys, my name is Greg Smith. I'm one of Stu's friends, and I want to speak on behalf of all of his friends that are in the corner here. I got to know Janet. I've known her for about 35 years. All I really want to say is thank you. Thank you to Janet. There's a saying that goes, if you want to know the true character of someone, look at their kids. And if that saying is true, and you look at the four brothers, you know that she did an amazing job. And we've talked about all of the great things, and Ian's done an amazing job. He's done an amazing job talking about Janet. But I wanted to pause and just recognize the role that she played in raising four outstanding gentlemen. And most importantly, from all of us in the corner, our best friend Stu. We love him, he loves us. Truly not a better man in the world, and I just want to say thank you, Janet, for raising Stu and doing such a great job. Thank you.
I mean no disrespect when I say the following, but I actually can't imagine what it must have been like for Janet to raise those four boys. Sorry, gentlemen, but truth be what it is. No, obviously meant that. Thank you. Anybody else like to say a few words? Okay, well please do remember, we've got the pad over here we'd like to sign. John, Stewie, Ross, Jeff have told me the bar has to be cleaned out to honor Janet. And, you know, obviously I think, John, you thanked Pat Reed and for everyone for coming out today to share this celebration of Janet Cameron Atkinson's life, and I believe we're going to be let out now by a paper, is that correct? Oh, I'm sorry, thank you, Jeff, yes. Most appropriate, a moment of silence, so thank you.
Hey, Kathy. Are you doing a picture video? Yeah, we love you, Kathy. Get well. She's good. Okay.